Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. This is your brother Dawadah from the Men of Valor camp in Greenville, South Carolina, coming back with another video of sincerity and in truth. Lord willing, it can be edifying. And got this article from zerohedge.com. I'm going to read through it. I link it with biblical prophecy because we're seeing things escalate. All right. Last week, you had that woman get shot in the face, and now it's being reported that another man in Minnesota got shot. So you're starting to see an uptick in violence, all right, whether it be organic or whether it be facilitated. Either way, you're seeing an uptick in violence in these certain regions. All right. And you have Trump threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, all right, which can be tied to martial law, meaning warlike law, where you're going to have militarized police presence, which you're already seeing that by way of ICE, okay, because ICE doesn't operate like your police, police enforcement. They're operating on a whole different measuring system as to how they go about operating. So nonetheless, Esau has an old, way of going about things: problem, reaction, solution, order, app, KO. All right. And we're seeing the same thing happening here. All right. You're going to have the problem. All right. They're not going to make the problem, the ICE agent shot the guy and shit, because they already gave that man immunity. All right. The problem is the outrage from U.S. citizens as to the handling of this. And now they're turning it toward Trump and the administration. All right. The reaction, all right, will be, I might have it skewed. The problem could be, the ICE and whatnot. The reaction is how these people are going out, reacting, tearing shit up, as we're going to see. And the solution will be a militarized state, where the Constitution is suspended. All right. They're going to see so many people uprising against the government. All right. They're going to suspend that Constitution. They're going to put boots on the ground. All right. And then everybody becomes a target, man. All right. And we don't know how fast this can, speed up. But, hey, it can. All right. This thing can accelerate to a national level pretty quickly. Not saying that, every street corner is going to have an ICE agent on it. But definitely, in these major cities, man, all right, you can see these cities get cut off. All right. Like it says in 2 Ezra 15 chapter, we're going to get into it. A man should desire to go into a city and should not be able. We're living in these times, man. All right. So this is just another point of reference that points to the fact that, yeah, we're definitely in those times. So let's get into it. Zeroheads.com. Trump threatens to invoke Insurrection Act as left-wing chaos in Minneapolis spreads. In response to overnight left-wing chaos, all right, notice, Zero Heads, they tend to be more right-wing leaning. So they definitely like to attack the Democrats. But it says in response to overnight left-wing chaos, what can only be described as the Democratic Party's George Floyd 2.0 attempt, President Trump wrote on Truth Social about the very real possibility of invoking the Insurrection Act. All right, you can see pictures. To pull this up, you see non-white individuals, flicking birds and shit. They're gonna make you the face. They're gonna make Jake the face of terror, man. All right, so going back, it says if the corrupt politicians, all right, this is what Trump said. If the corrupt politicians of Minnesota don't obey the law and stop the professional agitators and insurrectionists from attacking the patriots of ICE who are only trying to do their job, I will institute the Insurrection Act, which many presidents have done before me, and quickly put an end to the travesty that is taking place in that once great state. All right, that's what Trump said. It says the warning from Trump comes after left-wing nonprofits and far-left militant groups mobilized in the metro area in the last week after a legal observer was shot and killed. These left-wing groups have been positioned to mount a pressure campaign against federal agents seeking to disrupt deportation operations targeting criminal illegal aliens or the Democratic Party's future voting bloc. The Insurrection Act would allow Trump to deploy active duty military forces and federalize the National Guard within the Democratic-run state to restore order as Democrats allow left-wing groups to go rogue. The act has not been invoked since the 1992 Los Angeles riots. So yeah, and this isn't his first time threatening to invoke the Insurrection Act, okay? And this is the perfect ploy for them to be able to do it, man, just to put it real. It says this is a legal nuclear option to restore order to restore order. All right, order ab KO, problem reaction solution. It says this is a legal nuclear option to restore order after left-wing rioters last night looted federal vehicles, stole weapons and ammunition, and after an incident in which an ICE agent shot an illegal during a violent confrontation with the agent. Potential invocation of the Insurrection Act represents a significant shift in the federal civil military posture of the Trump administration. As left-wing orgs mount a fight, perhaps it's time for Trump administration to flank these orgs and begin an assault across the funding networks within the nonprofit world. So, they're taking this left versus right notion. All right, when the truth be told, how ICE is moving is not constitutional whatsoever. All right, whether you're left or whether you're right, but you're gonna have people that support Trump in the right, and you're seeing people that oppose Trump in the right via the left, and they're going out and they're being made the face of those that are destroying public property and whatnot, police vehicles and all type of things like that. Okay. So it says the killing of the left-wing activist or legal observer by an ICE agent in Minneapolis has become the catalyst that Democratic Party aligned dark money funded NGOs and militant far left groups have been waiting for to spark street chaos. All right. And again, this is all orchestrated, man. All this left-right bullshit. All right. It's all part of the same end game. Okay. To bring absolute totalitarian control. All right, we're seeing the beginning steps of that. And we said through the spirit, once ICE was on the streets, they weren't going to stop at so-called illegals, man. All right. Even Trump mentioned, people that are just bad, maybe they should leave too. You know how Trump gets down, how he speaks. It says, the militant far left groups have been waiting to spark street chaos, hoping to shift public sentiment toward defunding ICE. This is an informational war that Democrats are seeking to win, and in doing so, they need riots. Think of it as George Floyd 2.0. Overnight, social unrest emerged in the seemingly lawless sanctuary city of Minneapolis when street protests by left-wing groups quickly accelerated into riots and looting of at least one federal vehicle that had a long rifle and ammunition inside. And I'll play this video.
Almost there. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Bullets? There's some bullets.
Hey, that's some 40 shells?
I don't know.
You see what they're doing. Now, the real question is, if you were out there protesting and whatnot, cool. Why do something like this? All right, where they can find out who the fuck you are. They can track you down. All right, and they can charge you, man.
Tourniquet there.
Did he get?
Okay. Hey, don't film that.
That's all I'm gonna play it at. They just breaking into vehicles and shit. That's vandalism, man. You know, and they got the technology to figure out who you are, and that's why we don't partake in anything like this. All right, well, you're not gonna catch us out here when motherfuckers are all in the streets and shit, man. All right, but continuing on, you know, you can see different videos. It says, instead of demanding the criminal illegals aliens leave, Democrats who run to the metro area have posted on city's official X account demanding that ICE agents leave the town. All right, because you have these different sanctuary cities that were set up even like during Joe Biden's presidency. All right, and they had immunity. All right, but until Trump got up in there, or after Trump got up in there, you know, that immunity was gone. So now they're going up in there. It says, in a separate incident, Homeland Security and said an ICE agent shot an illegal in the leg after the subject began to resist and violently assaulted the officer. You know, which when ICE pulls up on these people to detain them, you know, more than likely it's like several of these guys and they're pinning people to the ground and shit. So when they're trying to say violently assault an officer, you know, you got to see the video. You know, you can't just take that at face value, because we see how rough these agents, you know, be getting with people, even when they're peaceful. All right, and that's just that old Edomite hatred that's been activated, you know, within these individuals. It says, then the agency said the officer was ambushed and attacked by two individuals. The original subject got loose and began striking the officer with a shovel or a broomstick. So, hey, you know, it's getting violent. All right, like we said through the spirit, it would be. All right. And if this continues to push on, if it spreads throughout these other cities, they definitely can, Trump can definitely invoke the Insurrection Act. And he'll probably do it in blue states first, blue cities, blue states first, you know, before he does it in like on a nationwide level. All right, but nonetheless, he's talking about, you know, boots on the ground and you know, domestically in America. On top of the fact that, you know, hey, they could be attacking Iran tonight. You know, they saying 24 hours. You know, we waiting for that. All right, we got all this tension going on the world stage. You got gold and silver going to all-time highs. The dollar's becoming weaker. So you add that onto, you know, these uproars that's going on, whether they're manufactured or whether they're authentic. Nonetheless, everything is pointing to we in that time of 2nd Ezra, the 15th chapter. We're going to go ahead and bring it up. 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 14. It says, woe to the world and them that dwell therein. All right, because this is something that's coming upon the world, man. All right, the Lord is judging this place. Verse 15, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. All right, so that sword, and who's the sword of the Lord? Esau, Edom, the so-called white man. Okay, it says, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. Meaning what? The modern day gun. So now that these ICE, you know, incidents have gone pretty much violent and deadly, you had the one woman get shot in the face. You had another guy get shot in the leg. So they're not trying to use non-lethal force. They're going straight for the damn kill shots, man. All right, so you're going to have people that also have guns that are going to come up to rise up against these ICE agents and whatnot. And then what? You're going to get the bigger military in there and so on and so forth. All right, but this is literally prophecies jumping off the page. We're seeing the early signs of it. Verse 16, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. And who's currently the king of Babylon? It's Trump. He might not say he's a king, but hey, earlier last year, throughout the year, they had the No Kings protest worldwide, where they were opposing Trump. All right. So he's a modern day king of Babylon. And they're not going to, so the citizens aren't going to regard him, whether they be left or whether they be right. They're they're not going to regard them. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power. They're going to take matters into their own hands. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. If something like the Insurrection Act is activated, this is a very real possibility where they shut down access into, major metropolitan areas and whatnot. Verse 18, it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled. The houses shall be destroyed and men shall be afraid. We're talking about the utter decay of the American way of life, man. We talking about from everyday, transit, you going to work, going home and shit like that, to just chaos in the streets, man. People running up in people's house. They already talked about ICE going door to door and shit. All right, these are real possibilities. All right, now we don't speak on this to spread fear. All right, because this is all orchestrated by the Heavenly Father, Yahweh. All right. And he's going to protect those of his elect. All right. We don't have anything to worry about. Even if they try to snatch us up, put us in jail or whatever. Hey, the Lord, we belong to the Lord, man. They can't do anything to us that the Lord doesn't ordain. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. So, we haven't even introduced the famine into the midst yet. These people haven't even gone without eating yet. All right, so just imagine how bad it's about to get out here. If this is just some social justice warrior shit and it's already turning violent, what about when there's food instability and most of the American population haven't gone without eating? All right, and can't even train their minds to go without eating. So things are happening. We'll see if Trump invokes his Insurrection Act. We also know that, a war with Iran is imminent. War with between China and Taiwan is imminent. World War III is imminent. All right, the MOTB is imminent. All the prophecies of Yahweh Shah are imminent, man. They're speaking. They cannot be denied. All right, which means what? These words are faithful and true. All right. So just wanted to bring this out through the Spirit, Lord willing, is edifying. I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Makakwadash, and double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who rule well. Peace, love, and salutations to the hopeful elect. Till next time, Shalom.